GearNetwork.com.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 37 of Talking Wrestling right here on the Gear Radio Network. John Cimino, a.k.a. JC Money, with you.
And real quick, going to go over the deets of the show today. I did make an announcement a couple of days ago, and I'm going to share that with you here in case if you did not read it on the Facebook. I'm also going to talk Money in the Bank results and wrestling news, and as well, I've got my main dude on stage, Steve Kruz. That's right, Mr. One Night Stand, or the bearded BA, if you will, whatever he's going by right now. He's reuniting with the Killer, with Steve McKenzie this Saturday at, I believe, Riverworks. And the Killer Steves are coming back to us. He's going to talk to us a little bit about that. So we'll get that. We'll get some local talk in there. It's a big show.
Episode 36 is going to begin right about now.
This is a Gear Network production.
Broadcasting worldwide on GearNetwork.com, sharing wrestling news and opinions. It's Talking Wrestling, and your host, JC.
All right, and we are here. Episode 36 of Talking Wrestling is live, and it is here on the Gear Radio Network. How's it going, my babies? John Cimino here, a.k.a. JC Money, with you. And I want to tell you real quick, this is made possible, as always, when you shop the brand new Gear Network store through Amazon. If you visit GearNetwork.com/Amazon, there is a link on there that says click here to access the new store. You click that, and it is just amazing. There's a lot of different things on there, including a Talking Wrestling / Turnbuckle Talk Radio Superstore that's in there. It's got a bunch of wrestling items in there. All the latest and greatest DVDs, video games, merchandise, and everything at your fingertips. You can order right directly from the site. Just click on whatever you want. Takes you to your account on Amazon. No extra hassle, no extra fees, and it helps us out, dag-nabbit. All right, on today's show, as I mentioned, we're going to talk some wrestling news, both local and abroad. And I'm going to speak on July 9th, which I made an announcement about, and I'll talk about that a little later on. But right now, we're going to get right into it. Let's go. Money in the Bank results. Here we go. For the pre-show, the Golden Truth defeated Breezango and the Lucha Dragons over the Dudley Boys. And I'm going to say this, and I'll talk you up on this a little bit later with the regular wrestling news. The way that the match ended there, wouldn't be surprised if they split the Dudleys in the draft. That news forthcoming. In the main show, The New Day retains the WWE World Tag Team Championship over Enzo and Kaz, the Vaudevillains, and The Club. Baron Corbin defeated Dolph Ziggler. Charlotte and Dana Brooks defeated Natalya and Becky Lynch. After the match, however, Natalya, big heel turn, nobody saw this one coming, attacks Becky Lynch. Not sure where they're going to go with that one there, but I like the Natalya as a heel thing. She's honestly, she's one of the best workers they have there on the roster. So, Apollo Crews defeats Sheamus. AJ Styles over John Cena with an assist from The Club. That match was a very, very good match leading up to the ending. I was a little disappointed with the ending myself. I know what they were going for. I know that they are setting up for a series of matches between AJ Styles and John Cena. I just wasn't sure that I was a big fan of having The Club interfere at the very end when really they didn't need to. I look at last year with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens didn't have anybody, help him to beat John Cena. If he did something dirty, a dirty tactic, that was on him. He didn't need others to do it. I wasn't a big fan of that ending myself. So, that being said, I was a fan of the match overall up until that point. So I'm guessing at SummerSlam it'll be Cena versus Styles again, and that match should be the rubber match. There's a pay-per-view in between then. It's Battleground, which I'm sure they'll wrestle there too. But I'm predicting SummerSlam to be the best match out of the series of the three, much like how Kevin Owens versus John Cena was last year. The Money in the Bank match. Dean Ambrose climbed the ladder and successfully grabbed the Money in the Bank briefcase, defeating Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho, Cesaro, and Alberto Del Rio. Rusev retains over Titus O'Neil, retains the United States Championship over Titus O'Neil, and then Seth Rollins defeats Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Starts his second reign, and then before you know it, boom, Ambrose's theme kicks, and out he comes with the briefcase. He hits him with the briefcase, cashes it in. Rollins gets up, dirty deeds, 1, 2, 3. Dean Ambrose is your WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and I must say, I am very, very pleased with that. It was on this very podcast a couple of years ago that I thought when the Shield broke up that Dean Ambrose was going to be the odd man out. I thought he wasn't going to be used properly or whatever, and I went as far as to say, I'm sorry, Ambrose fans, that's how it is. That's what's going to happen. As I have said in the podcast in the past as well, I love it when WWE proves me wrong, and they proved me wrong with this one. Each member of the Shield not cashed in Money in the Bank, only Rollins and now Ambrose did that, but each member of the Shield has held the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, so that to me puts that faction alone, the Shield, as one of the greatest factions in professional wrestling / sports entertainment history. All three have succeeded in the breakup. There was no Marty Jannetty to one Shawn Michaels. Every single one of them have succeeded and have ascended to the highest throne and continue to be there. So I would absolutely rank the Shield up there with the Horsemen and the NWO and DX. Absolutely. Probably one of the top three, if not arguably could be number one. So let me know what you think there. Facebook.com/Talking Wrestling Podcast. You can go post it on there. You can go to my Facebook, Facebook.com/The JC and chat with me about that. So on to some other news here. Major suspension, speaking of Roman Reigns, 30 days for a wellness policy violation. The details have not been confirmed as to what specifically was the reasoning for Roman Reigns failing the test. However, he did release a statement saying, quote, I apologize to all my family, friends, and fans for my mistake in violating the wellness policy. It is on me. I own it. It's saying right now that it may possibly take him out of the triple threat match for Battleground, although his return, the 30 days, will have ended approximately 3 days before the event. So at the very least, he's going to miss every single promotion leading up to that, every single week leading up to that. And as well, he's going to miss the WWE roster draft, which is happening on July 19th on USA Network, live and in living color. Live and in show enough living color. Jerry the King Lawler, he has been suspended indefinitely per the WWE domestic violence policy. He was arrested on June 17th along with his fiancée for domestic violence. Lawler claims he did nothing and claimed that she was drinking and had some words and stated that she wanted to off herself. His fiancée Lauren, on the other hand, claims that he hit her in the head, pulled out a gun, and told her to go ahead and off herself. As per the policy, he's indefinitely suspended. Truthfully, it's my belief, and as much as, he matters in the game of professional wrestling, as legendary as he is, he's a WWE Hall of Famer, he's a Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, I'm betting he's going to be along the same lines as Adam Rose. I have a feeling that WWE is going to let him go. As of right now, as of this recording, it has not happened, so excuse me, if it does happen, we'll report it on the Talking Wrestling Podcast Facebook page. The brand split is happening. Again, July 19th on USA Network, 8 p.m. It is the first live WWE SmackDown. What exactly does it mean for Raw and SmackDown and NXT? Honestly, my theory is that you're going to see more NXT stars kind of come up to the SmackDown brand, and I have a feeling that SmackDown is going to be a larger version of NXT, whereas Raw is going to pretty much be the same thing. I hope that is not the case. I really like the NXT vibe, and I like the NXT brand, but again, it's one of those things where, excuse me, it's one of those things that it's good for business. So I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing that. My theory is, again, 2 world titles, 2 sets of tag team titles. They're going to have to do that. The Intercontinental Championship is going to be on one show. The U.S. Championship is going to be on the other. If I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Intercontinental Championship is probably going to SmackDown. We'll see about that. Also, there has been some rumored names that WWE has contacted. Nothing has been set in stone yet, but the names that are being rumored are Goldberg, Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, and Rey Mysterio. Evidently have been contacted by WWE for the brand split. Kurt Angle is the only one out of the names listed that has been hinting that a return is in fact imminent, and going so much as to come out to his old WWE theme music and some independent show in England. I can't remember the name of the place right now. It's killing me right now, but he came out there. He got the "You Suck" chants like the old times. So I'm wondering if that's an omen. I personally would like to see Kurt Angle retire where it started for him, at WWE. Honestly, I think he wasted, especially the past 3 years with TNA, as TNA started, going downward. I thought he wasted his time there. I understood why he left. As reported, how the travel is and things like that. That's probably part of it. But regardless, I'd like to see Kurt Angle there in WWE and retire on top, if you will. So, what do you think? You, the listening audience. And I know that the listening audience is there because, again, the one-man show last episode, I cannot thank you guys enough for all of the hits, all of the plays, all of the support that you have all provided. It's been just wonderful seeing these numbers that have been coming up. I'm very proud to say that, this podcast, in particular, Talking Wrestling, is one of the most popular podcasts on Gear Network, and I intend to continue to deliver until the season ends after SummerSlam. So thank you again. More wrestling news by way of local talk coming after the interview, which is next. Mr. One Night Stand, my man, Steve Kruz, returns to Talking Wrestling right after this.
I'm often asked about the logos of the show and Gear Network and everything. It comes to me, JC, where do you get the designs, the cool designs for the show and everything? And I want to tell you, I'm going to tell everybody right now, right here, you heard it here, it is IndyCard Media. IndyCard Media is a local business that specializes in making quality designs for your website or your business. Whatever you do, they can do it. If you need proof, you can look at all of our logos, or you can go to facebook.com/IndyCardMedia to see all of the designs, which include a political banner, because they've done political banners and everything. Nothing is off limits with them. Give Eric a shout at IndyCardMafia@gmail.com, and he will help you bring your design to life. Tell him Gear Network sent you, and hey, he may hook you up with a little something, or at least a smile, because you heard it here. But go to IndyCard Media Facebook. Again, facebook.com/IndyCard Media. Do it now. Bring your designs to life. Hey everyone, John Cimino here for the Gear Radio Network, and you have asked and asked repeatedly, what is up with the app? We know you have one, and you never push it. You never do anything with it. Well, guess what? We got a better one, and it is free. It is absolutely available for you, and there's so much more you can do with it. Visit GearNetwork.com and click Get the App. It's up on the top banner, or if you're feeling really brave, head to gearnetwork.mobapp.at on your mobile phone and your mobile phone's browser, and you can take Gear Network with you wherever you go. Listen to every show on the Gear Network right from the app. You can view all of our social networks in real time. You can read Gear Network and BLTDsports.com blogs in real time, and you can also shop Amazon and help us out and help you out. It is free. Did I mention that? Again, gearnetwork.com or gearnetwork.mobapp.at. Download it right now. You're listening to Talking Wrestling. Once again, JC Money. All right, I am here once again with the first time since episode 6. That's right, from May of 2014 was the last time this guy appeared on the podcast. But I'm happy to have him back. My main dude on stage, Mr. One Night Stand, Steve Kruz. Steve, how the hell are you?
I'm surviving. I'm hanging out, drinking some beers, and getting ready for this weekend. How are you?
Oh, I'm living the dream. Scratch. Every time I hear somebody say that they're surviving, I think of the Good Times theme. Scratching and surviving, good times. I don't know. What do we know about that? So yeah, we'll talk about this weekend in a minute because I don't necessarily have a bone to pick with you, but you beat me to the unretirement party. But we'll chat about that in a minute. Big news this week, huge news actually, that actually overshadowed the Money in the Bank pay-per-view with Dean Ambrose winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns suspended 30 days for the wellness policy violation. As of this recording, as of right now, I'm not familiar if the reasoning for it has come to light yet. But how big of a blow is that to WWE, considering that this is such a crucial time for them going into the big brand split? What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, first off, I just don't get it. I mean, you got an opportunity. Everything's handed to you on a silver platter. The fans don't give a crap about you, and Vince McMahon's still feeding you to them. Why would you go and screw that up? You're in the title chase. You're main eventing. I don't get it, but whatever. Everybody's got their reasons. Huge blow because it's going to be. I mean, he's gone for 30 days, and I mean, fans already hated him as it was, and they were trying to build him up. I don't get it. It's not going to work. I mean, it's just going to hurt him even more, and everybody else is going to keep moving with the talent they have in there now. There's so many guys that are chomping for that spot. They're going to move up, and they're going to move on, and he's going to be back to mid-card.
Now, do you see that? You really think that he'll be back down to mid-card, or with his suspension being that it's 30 days and it was effective immediately from that announcement, by my calculations, it takes him to approximately 3 days before the next pay-per-view, WWE Battleground, where he is supposed to be in a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship against the champion Ambrose and other challenger Seth Rollins. Do you think that they're going to put him or keep him rather in that spot, or are they going to take him out entirely and then bring him back the night after on Raw or the Tuesday night on SmackDown, wherever he's drafted? I
can see him throwing him back in and keeping him in and trying to come up with some kind of a storyline as to why he was gone, even though everybody knows why he was gone. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make it make sense with him being gone and not doing anything, because there's no storyline to build up now. It's all, he's just going to show up. He's like Brock Lesnar. He's going to show up and just work once a month.
maybe. I think that he's honestly, I think that he's very, as much as he's being shoved down everybody's throats, I think he's very underrated as a worker, especially when he's in there mixing it up with the likes of AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. I really think he's underrated as a worker, but to your point, the general idea is that he's being shoved down everybody's throat, and I think that's why everybody hates him. It was the same thing, really, with John Cena 10, 11 years ago at this point, but, that's the E for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, I've seen more out of him, in the recent matches with Rollins and with AJ, but, I mean, part of that is also, they can make, not to be cliche, they can make a broomstick look good.
That's absolutely all right. Now,
I'm not completely sold on him yet.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair enough. All right. Speaking of making things look good, last time you were on this podcast a couple years ago, I want to say it was post surgery, wasn't it? May of 2014?
Yep. It was almost 1 year out.
It was almost 1 year out. And you had, I think, hinted that the fire still burned a bit, but you weren't sure that you were coming back or if you were going to come back. And since that time, you have, in fact, come back. So take me through and take us through who all, the name Steve Kruz is known all throughout this area. So take us through what led to your comeback at In Your Face Wrestling. How did that happen? How did that come about? And what got you to finally pull the trigger?
Initially, I was in talks with them about just having a small spot at their M3, their Memories, Moments, Mayhem. And I talked with the bookers and the powers that be, and we're talking about like a slow ease into the back, being in the ring and being active, just maybe just kind of like an appearance kind of thing, like around the main event, that kind of stuff. And then Tuesday before the show, so we're talking like 4.5, 5 days out, I get a call from Vigo, and he tells me that Sergeant Fury, who, as some people know, was my student, is out with a concussion, and Vigo needs a tag partner. And he's like, "Do you think you can go?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't even have gear." And I said, "Besides that, I'm old and I'm fat, and I haven't really trained that much yet." So we were chatting a little bit, and he asked me, he's like, "What would it take to get you to do the match?" I said, "I'm not really sure I'm ready." I'm like, "What kind of match is it?" And he said, "It's a tables match." And anybody that knows me knows I got a little bit of a history with a tables match. So I got kind of quiet, and he goes, "So you in?" I'm like, "Yeah, screw it, I'm in." So on a whim, I agreed to be in a tables match against Roman Dominguez and Salvador Morocco. And so I call in some favors to Easy Money and to RD Boots, and I got some stuff rush ordered and rush made, and I was ready to go for Saturday night. We got in there, and when I got to the show, a lot of the guys were surprised that I was actually going to be working. They thought I was just hanging out, and I'm like, "No, guys, I'm working." And, it felt good. I mean, going through a table didn't feel good. I mean, it never does. But, it was the best way to get the rust off. I mean, when I came back from my first back injury, it was living on the edge with 2CW, tagging with Studley against All Money is Legal.
I remember that.
I mean, and everybody thought I was crazy for doing it that way. So, I mean, what more of a fitting way for me to make my comeback than in another tables match?
Now,
to be my thing.
As far as the comeback goes, is this a permanent thing? Do you have an idea of how long you want to continue the dream, if you will? What is the plan for Steve Kruz? What is making you still want to continue doing it, continue a career, especially after a back injury that involved surgery that was as extensive as it was?
I just want to have fun. As long as I'm having fun and I'm enjoying doing it still, I'm going to keep doing it. When I went out, like I said before, I wasn't ready to go. I wasn't ready to be done. I felt like I was just getting good. I've definitely lost some. I mean, we're talking 3.5 years out of the ring. I'm 39 years old. I'm not in the shape that I was.
You ain't 39 years old, man. I just put up a 49-year-old birthday message for you, you old bastard.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you go by you, I'm anywhere between the ages of like 39 and 57 or 67, depending on the week.
Yeah, it depends on the week.
So as long as I'm still having fun and, the back feels good, which my doctors have assured me that I can't re-injure the spot in my spine that was already injured because that spot is no longer there. So I don't have a time frame. I don't have a specific goal in mind. I'm not shooting for WWE. I know I'm way too old for anything like that. I just want to keep having fun. I finally talked Studley into tagging up again and kicking off Killer Steve's one more time. So
yes, and
we'll see how
that
much fun we can have.
That is a great segue because this Saturday at Riverworks, you and Studley are reuniting the Killer Steves for the first time in a long time. The Killer Steves are one of my favorite tag teams, and I know a thing or two about tag teams. So, what can everybody expect? First of all, are you gonna have the beard and the badass look that you've debuted out in your face?
The beard is a little smaller due to an overzealous barber, but the beard will still be there. The tattoos obviously can't go anywhere. Traditional Killer Steve's gear, we got new gear made. I mean, shocking coming from the Killer Steves that we got new gear made. We're always had new gear. As far as how we're going to be in the ring, we're talking just shy of 4 years. It was November 17th, 2012 was the last time the Killer Steves were in a tag team match.
Right. Wasn't that was that the one against Demolition or
the night after Demolition?
the night after Demolition?
Okay. The night after was a Survivor Series match. We tagged up with Pepper Parks and Loca Vita against Graham Pun and two other dudes that beat the living crap out of us. That's all I can really remember about that match. I remember Pun putting me in a Texas Cloverleaf and me tapping out, and my back was pretty much shot after that. I collapsed through the curtain.
I think anybody's back would be shot after, if as big as Pun is, and he and I don't really know each other, but the few times that I've met him at Pier 6 or whatever, Pun is, folks, if you've never seen this guy in person, you absolutely have to. This guy is a mammoth. He's freaking huge. So for him to be putting you in a cloverleaf, that, at that point, I'd probably be like, my back's screwed anyways. Why not, right?
Pretty much. I mean, what the fans don't know is before that match, one of the things I'll never forget is seeing the look on Sean Carr's face as I was having a spasm laying on the floor in the locker room. Cage knew what was going on. We've been through stuff like that. And, Carr still being somewhat new in the business at that point, it was just kind of an eye-opening thing for some of the younger guys that, here I am, I'm having a spasm on the floor, nothing I can do about it, couldn't stand up, and the match was next. I finally stood up, got up straight when the music was hitting, went out and did the match. And as soon as I got through, I collapsed again. So, it's that desire and determination that got me back in the ring, even though I'm not the physical standards that I was at before, but kind of stuff that made me want to do it.
And that's the thing that really, really gets me, that just, as many people out there, in the advent of social media and the internet exploding and people with smartphones and everything, and everybody seems to know everything nowadays, right? You don't really know until you're there, and at that point, and as you said, muscle spasms. You were, you couldn't move. It hurt like hell. The music hit. You got the blood flowing. You went out and did your thing. That's the passion that you can't really, you can tell stories about it, but until you've actually been there and done that, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm getting at, right?
Yep. It's one of those things, like, unless you're on the other side of the curtain, fans can think they know as much as they want to think they know, but until you're on the other side of the curtain and you actually see the stuff that's happening on the backside, you really don't know what's going on in the world of pro wrestling and what the guys on the indies are actually giving up to entertain the fans for $100, $50, $20, 2 slices of pizza and a bottle of water.
Hey-o!
No pizza and no bottle of water. I'm not naming names. I'm not saying I've ever done that, but
yeah.
Like pizza.
We've all. I guess we've all been there a time or two. In our first year in the business or whatever.
So it happens, but that's why anybody that's actually giving it their all and putting the time and the effort into the business the old school way, like I was trained, like you were trained. Not like a lot of some of the younger kids are trained nowadays, getting out of school after 3 months and expecting that, they're ready for their world title shot.
I'd like to think that culture is beginning to change in this area, and I had some discussions either on another podcast or off the record about this, but for a while there was a culture of that. And it stemmed with who was training or saying that they were training. And now that there's been some stability, at least in the Rochester area here, with Mark House being the guy. When you think of training in this area, you think of Mark House and how he's running the school. And as a guy that, was coming back and we all know now I'm not wrestling July 9th, and I'll touch up a little bit about that on the third segment. But I am still wrestling in 2016, by the way. But as a guy who's gone there,
availability in 2016, just so you know.
Say that one more time.
I have open availability in 2016, just in case.
Ron Falco, you're on the clock.
Never happened before.
No, that's one of the few that never happened in all this time, and I said that with Rob Cook as well. For as long as he and I have been in the business, and he's, I think, 1 year my junior. It's never happened, and the same thing with me and you. It's never happened either in a tag team or one-on-one with each other, and that's one of the things that I would definitely come back for. So, Falco, you're on the clock. But back to the original point of it is having been to some of Mark's sessions and having met some of his students. I want to say that we are about a good 3 to 5 years away from that culture being completely removed. I want to say that, and I'm hoping that.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I mean, the business is going to get better when it goes back to the old school. I mean, that's really the only way to do it.
By old school, do you mean the old country way, traveling the roads, or are you talking about like the NISAC where everybody needed to be licensed and things like that?
Both, actually. I think everybody needs to be licensed. That way, I know, everybody knows that when we're getting in the ring with somebody, that they are trained, that other trained wrestlers, licensed wrestlers in New York State are signing off on that person, putting their reputation on the line, saying this person is trained, they know what they're doing. Just from a safety standpoint, and knowing that, the person you're about to, anybody can lie. I'm not going to say I know everybody that's on the indies. I'm not going to say there's 2 dudes in my match this Saturday. I don't know who they are. I've never heard of them, and I'm not dissing them in any way. I've been out of the business 3.5 years. I don't know who they are. There's 2 guys in the match with us that I know very well. So I'm not worried about Hellcat and Maddox. I don't know the other 2 dudes. If they were licensed in New York State, I'd be a little more easy about it. But, I'll have to talk to them when we get to the show and be like, find out what's going on.
I'm not sure I even know. I'm not sure I even know what the actual match was. I just saw Hellcat and Maddox and you guys, and really I focused more on you guys because I talk to you a lot. So, but,
right.
All right.
It's the Steves, Hellcat and Maddox, so Rochester Wrecking Crew, and the Amante brothers.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with them.
I'm not either. I don't know if Blackjack Phoenix is running the show. I know he's got a lot of Canadian connections. They very likely could be, an Ontario tag team, which I worked with plenty of dudes up in Ontario. Didn't have problems with too many of them. So, but, it is what it is. I mean, to get back to the point, having the licensing is only going to help, making sure everybody's trained properly, and then traveling around and actually learning the business from the dudes that have been on the road for a while is only going to help. And then down to the training schools, where guys like Mark House are teaching people, teach them the old way. When you and I broke into the business, we didn't learn how to do a moonsault on day one. I personally got the crap kicked out of me for 3 weeks, 5 days a week, until I even learned how to do a collar and elbow tie-up. Let's not even talk about taking a bump yet. I got the crap kicked out of me for 3 weeks before I learned anything. And then Brian Immaculate actually started teaching me, the business.
Right.
So,
right.
It eliminates the people that, are already coming in just a wrestling school with an ego thinking that they've earned something.
Exactly. Absolutely. All right. We're gonna wrap this up here. Steve Kruz, where can one find you online?
We got Facebook /Stevo Kruz, STEVEKRUZ. Twitter, Inked Bald Guy, or at Stevo Kruz. And on Instagram, also Inked Bald Guy.
All right. And one more thing I do want to throw out there. Obviously, we are recording this call, but on a Thursday night. I plan on releasing this tomorrow, so Friday. So we're pretending that it's Friday right now. As of today, I do want to let you know, Steve, that there are 183 days left until Christmas.
I hate you.
Heal for life, my brother. Steve Kruz, Saturday at Riverworks, the Killer Steves reunite. Steve, my man, you have an open door. Anytime you want to come on, man, you are more than welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, sounds good, brother. Thank you.
That was Steve Kruz, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Kruz, Mr. One Night Stand. One half of the Killer Steves. One of my all-time favorite people that I've ever met in pro wrestling. We still keep in contact. We still talk regularly. And he loves Christmas as much as I do, as you can tell. We'll get together for that garbage plate. Just let me know next time you're in Rochester, Steve. But we'll be right back after this. And when we come back, I'll touch up on some local stuff real quick and finish off with a story. A story. That's right. This is Talking Wrestling on the Gear Radio Network. Hey, Dawn, how's it going?
Living the dream. I'm actually just getting ready to do this commercial.
Oh, you mean the commercial where I tell our listeners to tune into Gear Network every week to listen to our show, Get Ready America? That one?
Yeah, John, that's the one.
They can also listen to us talk about news, sports, whatever's on our minds, that.
And a little what's on our listeners' minds, but they're just too nice to say it.
Well, that, Dawn, is a real humdinger. Come join us this and every week for Get Ready America exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
And the Gear Network app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I am Ryan Wolf.
it's Mr. Perez.
And I have a question for you, Perez.
What's your question?
Do you like to listen to people talk about sports?
No. Of course I like sports and listening to people talk about sports.
Well, guess what? I have the perfect solution for you.
Solution for me?
There's a podcast
Okay.
on this very network.
This network?
Every single week you can hear it.
Really?
New content, latest and breaking news. We talk about baseball, football, hockey, basketball, soccer, UFC, whatever you want to talk about.
So sports in general.
They talk about sports in general. You got it.
I like
you
it.
know the dictionary.
I like
I'm
it.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I must say, tune in. We are better live than dead.
You're not.
Every single week. You're not going to want to miss it. Exclusively here on the Gear Radio Network.
You're looking at the real deal now. Gonna kick this sorry ass out on the
Last segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by our Amazon page and our app, gearnetwork.mobapp.at. Download it today. All right, some local talk here for you real quick. I want to talk to you about the IWF. Their next show is coming up, and it is July 22nd. It is IWF Summer Bash coming to you from the Brockport Elks Lodge number 2110 from at 4400 Sweden Walker Road, Brockport, New York, 14420. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a Friday night, and you can see the current IWF Heavyweight Champion, Sean Carr, in action. He's going to be defending his title against a former IWF Heavyweight Champion. That is all I know. That's all I know. Also, Beautiful B is facing off against the debuting Tequila Rose, and more announcements on the matches and the card will be made very soon. It is facebook.com/TheIWF for the details. Note of interest here, Frank the Tank Burlington, due to a torn tricep from his 3 Stages of Hell match with Coconut Jones last show, will be out indefinitely. We do not know how long he will be out, so Frank the Tank Burlington, he is a gamer, and I've been in the ring with him. I've known him for several years. Dude is a student of the game. Get well, Frank the Tank. So real quick, I want to actually bring it back and talk about July 9th. Now, when I opened the season of Talking Wrestling, I mentioned that July 9th, I was going to be coming back into the ring for the first time in just about 4.5 years into a crowd. And that, unfortunately, is not going to happen now. There are certain circumstances that happen behind the scenes between management of OSPW and myself, particularly with OSPW's new regime, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. It's Ultimate Wrestling. They're going to be taking over essentially what's left of OSPW after September and rebranding it. Now, I'm not going to give the press as far as what that new promotion's name or anything is like that, but basically, what it boils right down to is that the new regime is kind of being a presence while the old regime is starting to fizzle away. And there is a ton of bad blood that exists between myself and that particular regime. And it got to a point where it became very toxic. And there was a personal situation, and if you would be so kind as to go to Get Ready America, episode 32, I want to say, when a work becomes a shoot, and then there's episode 38 where I follow up, and I talk about it in greater depth. Please go and listen to those episodes for the entire story as to what happened and why it became personal between myself and Terry Cadillac last year. This year, the big craze seems to be these fake accounts. And if you listen to Turnbuckle Talk Radio, Gabriel Soul and Pat G talk about that. Talk about the fake accounts. They did it in the last episode that dropped last night. I'm not going to talk about it, and I'm not going to make mention of the names involved. However, the snake that person is, and by that person I mean Terry, going and doing what he did, getting involved in my personal life because he couldn't take some criticism about his fake product. That whoever's doing these fake accounts are now targeting people's personal lives, people's personal family members, their wives, their aunts, their uncles, their this, their that, people that are just not even involved in wrestling, and this person is intentionally doing it. And the thing about it is we all know who's responsible, but they're playing stupid. So, keeping that in mind and it becoming personal again, I felt that it was not a wise choice for me to bring myself into that element. Essentially, what I was doing was bringing myself into the exact same element that I ended up hating, and that was the catalyst for me leaving in the first place. So after 4.5 years of despising that element, of despising those particular people and that particular practice, why am I all of a sudden going to come back to the exact same goddamn thing that made me want to leave in the first place? It really was a no-brainer when it boils right down to it. And unfortunately, certain people are disappointed, and I apologize for that. Certain fans are disappointed, and I apologize about that. Then we get to the owner of OSPW, Deacon, who was really disappointed at that and apparently blames the whole thing on me and talks about my bad attitude and how he never wanted to book me in the first place. Well, jackass, let's be real here. This is real talking. This is real talk, real being real. I put you over on the podcast a couple of weeks ago as being one of the nicer ones, as being one of the nicest guys that you've ever met, that I've ever dealt with. And then you go ahead and you bash me like that behind my back, thinking that I'm not going to find out? I mean, I'm not a big tough guy here, but realistically, don't you know who I am? Don't you know I can find things out? Everything that you have said, I know. All right? So it's not a big secret. Yeah, you didn't want to book JC Money. Okay, great. Well, you know what? You didn't. Tripp did. You weren't paying for me. Someone else was. So my commitment wasn't to you at all. It wasn't to your stupid company at all either. It was to the person that I was wrestling, which was Tripp, and I'm going to be honoring that commitment. Like I said, there's things in the works right now to ensure that match will happen. It just is not going to happen underneath an OSPW banner. It can't happen underneath an OSPW banner. It will not happen underneath an OSPW banner. So I apologize to those of you that were disappointed that I was not going to be coming to OSPW to wrestle Tripp. But for the life of me, with the new regime that's going to be there, that's going to be taking over, that's going to be doing everything, it really wasn't a good thing for me to be there at all. And they should be thanking their lucky stars that I'm not there, because let's be honest, it would have taken away from what the show is supposed to be. Okay, I can't speak for anybody else that left, that took a stand and said, you know what, screw this, I'm out too. I can't speak for anybody that's going to leave after WrestleFest, because there's a plenty that's going to leave. And you'll find out at WrestleFest. So, bottom line, to the fans, to the workers that were there that wanted to see me, I do apologize. I invite you guys, when I have the details finalized with JC versus Trip 3, where it's happening, when it's happening, you will all have an invite to that, and you will be the first to know, and I will announce it right here. Unless, of course, the Talking Wrestling season's over after SummerSlam, then I'll just announce it on Get Ready America. So, speaking of Get Ready America, that is coming back. We are going to record this weekend, and it is coming back with a vengeance. That's right. There's a lot to talk about. Don and I are going to talk about it. But until then, this is it for episode 37. Yes, I said 36 earlier in the podcast because I'm stupid, but whatever. I've made so many damn podcasts, I've lost count. It's a good thing. Y'all keep listening. Thank you very much for that. But this is the end of episode 37. And this is a copyrighted podcast of the Gear Radio Network. Any rebroadcast or reproduction without the express written permission of the Gear Radio Network is strictly prohibited. The executive producer is Mrs. Dawn Cimino. Turnbuckle Talk is new. Listen to that. If you haven't listened to it already, go back and listen to it. And if you have listened to it, listen to it again. Misguided Musings. Them boys are new too this week. Listen in to that because I guarantee you are going to laugh. And then Get Ready America is coming back. And Dawn and I, we're going to talk. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're probably going to be pissed. There's going to be a whole hell of a lot more probably about this particular subject because there's going to be some things I'm going to be bouncing off Dawn. And she's going to be bouncing back at me. And nobody riles me up quite like she does. So there you go. So listen in. Download the app, shop the Amazon. Thank you very much for the listens. We will talk to you next time. So long, everybody. Good night now.
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.